Will Levis walked into an uppercut, according to Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk. My God, that Will Levis had a bad night. Jesus, Will Levis, what happened? What I want to talk about in this video is how this happened. Not so much, his draft prospectness, not so much like why did teams pass on him, but the idea of misinformation with his agent, sports media, people like that. Because Levis, you always wonder what he's hearing. You always wonder if teams told him, like, hey, we're taking you at 5, we're taking you at 4, we're taking you at 12. And then he's just getting lied to the whole time? Or does he know, like, I don't think a team's going to take me. I haven't heard of a team taking me. Because we hear all kind of stuff. I mean, 2 days before the draft, we heard, which we now know is a false Reddit report, but we heard the report that on Reddit that Will Levis was going to go number 1 overall. I wonder if Levis, and that was reported on ESPN. So I wonder if Levis sees that and he's thinking, no, I am absolutely not. Like, I wonder if he knows Carolina is not taking me. Indianapolis is not taking me. Or is he sitting there like, they might take me. They may take me. Maybe this team will take me. Who knows? And his agent should know. His agent absolutely should know the truth, I would think. I mean, these agents, you got to remember, like, these guys are talking, they're texting coaches, GMs, other agents. They're texting people like I text my best friends, So like, if Levis was just as surprised as we were, which one is hard for him to not be if he's there. He's definitely not going there if he knows he's not being taken in the first round. I'm not saying that, but I wonder at what extent he was surprised. I wonder if he expected to go like maybe 12, maybe I'll go 21, or if I wonder if he was like, I'm going top 5. And then all hell breaks loose.
And let me say this, I thought they were getting
I'm
away
gonna be interested.
televising.
Yeah. Sorry, I was just gonna. Can I say? I'd be interested if the Hendon Hooker might go off the board before Will Levis tonight. I don't think that's a crazy thought. Levis, I know he's in a tough spot and he's gonna go off the board somewhat early here, but I wouldn't be shocked in the top of the second round if somebody went Hendon Hooker over Will Levis. Right? We heard.
Yeah, I mean, I probably wouldn't either at this point. I mean, at this point, it's a toss-up. If this many teams passed on Levis, especially towards the bottom, like Hooker, I don't think was ever really going to be a first-round pick. But the idea that Levis could have gone 4th, and you got to remember too, this really, I mean, they're not going to. It's not going to matter. They're treated almost like weathermen. But for a Mel Kiper, for a Todd McShay, for people like that who are mocking this guy at 1 or 2 or 4 a couple days before the draft, and for him to then not only doesn't go 4, he doesn't even go in the first round. That's embarrassing. I mean, it really is. And I think, look, obviously, I don't put a lot of regard into the big media and sports media. I mean, I think it's a joke. I've been on record. Mel Kiper's not a draft expert, but the fact that that's his only job, he ain't covering the NBA. He's just covering the draft, and he's got to be as tuned in as anybody. And he can sit there and say, Will Levis is going to Indy at 4. And then he drops out of the entire first round. That is so pathetic. That is so bad. That is so sad. But,
some of the concerns about Levis early on in the process, and that seems to be really what the true storyline was. And then we got, thrown some BS by things and throw some curveballs. But, yeah, the league cooled on Levis a little bit. Sorry, Mike. I just wanted to throw that in there.
No, you're fine. And here's the key.
Yeah.
Because I see the images of him sitting there. He clearly is a guy who is surprised by this development as it's unfolding. And at one point, the league's position was, we're not going to have all these shots of the guy in the green room who is experiencing this agony of not being picked. Well,
I think that's stupid. I think if he's there, show him. If he's invited and he's there and he's sliding, show him. I think sports, they're human, but sports is theater. People watch sports just like they watch a reality TV show, whatever else. In someone's highest of high, show it. In someone's lowest of low, show it. You don't cut away from Greg Norman falling apart, on the golf course because it's the worst moment of his life. You don't cut away from a baseball player who commits an error in Game 7 of the World Series. You don't cut away from a wide receiver who drops a game-winning pass, game-winning touchdown in the national championship. It's theater. That's what you're there for. Feels bad, man. The losing team should do press conferences. The winning team should do press conferences. It's bad. It hurts, but that's the drama of it. That's the point of it. So I think Levis is sitting there. He's sliding. The crowd or the audience is surprised. Levis is surprised. We have to see that. Sounds brutal. It is what it is.
There were more than a few of them last night. And the other side of it, too, there was some reporting that happened before the draft as it relates to the non-invitation of Quentin Johnson, who ended up being taken much higher than expected, because they think he's not going to be taken round 1, so we don't want to put him in a bad spot. Somebody had bad information about Will Levis.
Somebody. There was not a single person on the planet that I saw that had Will Levis falling out of the first round. So there's no one on earth who would have said, let's not invite him. This guy, again, go back. Look at Bleacher Report. Look at ESPN. Look at NFL Network. Look at 100 analysts. Will Levis, 90% of them had him going 4 to Indianapolis. I mean, it's crazy. This is something, I think I've heard a lot of people. I was getting my haircut today. I got a haircut. Let's go in the comments below and give me some love here for the snip. But there was a guy sitting next to me, and he was talking about how this slide was like Brady Quinn or like Aaron Rodgers. And I wanted to look over and say, I try and keep a low profile because people obviously recognize me for my genius takes here on YouTube. So I didn't want to take away from anything. I was trying to enjoy myself, but I wanted to look over and say, fella, this has never happened before. This is a guy who, like, Rodgers slid, no doubt, and Rodgers was in the talks to be the first overall pick, and he slid to 22. But if Rodgers would have slid out of the first round, like, we've seen over and over and over and over, we've seen the clips of Rodgers sitting there. Levis sat there and then left. Like, Levis sat there, never got a phone call, packed up his shit and looked around and said, all right, guys, well, I guess grab some of the leftover sandwiches over there and let's get out of here. Like, Lamar Jackson, he slid, but he was never the first overall pick. Brady Quinn was never the first overall pick. Like, Levis was the favorite to go first overall, or not the favorite, but he was taking money to go first overall 24 hours before the draft. He was, I would say, 95% locked by the media to go top 5. And the fact that he didn't even get taken when teams like Tampa Bay, Minnesota, teams that before the draft thought, we want him, but there's no possible way we can get there, and then they pass on him. Tampa Bay passing on him when they have Kyle Trask is crazy town to me. That's it. Washington passing on him is nuts. It's crazy.
And the most important thing the agent can do,
yep,
before
this is what I was talking about,
is set the expectation of the player. Part of the role is to get the player drafted as high as possible, to use your skills of persuasion to get GMs and coaches and owners to think of the guy the way that you want him to be viewed, and to see the best attributes and downplay the negatives. But at the end of the day, the agent had better be damn sure where the floor is. And the agent had better...
Yeah, this is what I was saying with a little less. I mean, we don't have to talk like a longshoreman, Mike. Jesus, I mean, it's a family channel. I mean, what are we doing here? But that's what I was trying to say, was that the agent can do all the pomp he wants. He can fluff him up to the media, fluff him up to the teams, whatever. But at the end of the day, the conversation he's got to have with Will Levis is, look, Carolina's taking Bryce Young. Indy's taking Anthony Richardson. Seattle's not going to take you. We may be an option for Tampa Bay at 21-ish, but if they pass on you, probably a second day kind of thing. Like, that's what the agent should be doing. And he may have done that. And Levis may have said, you know what? I still want to go. I still want to have the experience. I still want to sit there just in case. And if I don't get taken, not that big of a deal. It'll be cool to go. And maybe that's what happened. And we're assuming like Levis is heartbroken and Levis is shocked and Levis is expecting to go 4 just because we expected it. But it's possible that that didn't happen. You know, I haven't heard from Levis since the draft, as far as like, not personally, but I haven't seen like a clip of him talking about it or anything like that. So just like we shouldn't have projected where he's going to go, I don't think it's fair to project what he was feeling either, or predict what he was feeling. He may have known better than anybody, which he probably should have.
Better communicate that to the client. That's important information, because you're going to have some members of the Will Levis family who are pissed off that they had to sit there all night through that indignity. We wouldn't have come to Kansas City if we knew he wasn't going to be taken.
Yeah, how do you know
in
that?
Round one. We could have sat at home and not answered the phone all night long and not embarrassed ourselves out here acting like this guy's going to be a top 5.
But how do you know like that? How do you know that? You know, like, just like I laid out. I mean, put it in the comments below, ladies and gentlemen. Let's say you're Will Levis, and your agent tells you you're not going 1, you're not going 4. You might go 16, you may go 24. If you don't go 24, there's a slight chance they trade up to take you in the bottom of the first round, but more than likely it's slipping. Would you go if you were invited? I can absolutely see where a guy would say, well, I'll go. You know, I'll go. If I get taken, cool. If not, whatever. No big deal. I can for sure see that. Now, if my agent says you're going 4th to Indy, get excited, start Zillow-ing apartments, and then that you don't go, I'd be pissed off there. But I think there's a chance that what Florio's talking about happened. Like, I don't think there's a chance that the family wasn't embarrassed. There's a chance that my parents wouldn't have been embarrassed. If I would have told my parents and my family, and I would have said, look, I might go in these 3 spots. There's a chance I don't go. Let's still do it. It'll be an experience. It'll be something we can, look back on. It's not that big of a deal. It's not embarrassing, like, let's do it. I don't think they would have been pissed off, like Mike said, to use his salty language. I don't think they would have been pissed off if they knew the situation like that. I think they would have, obviously wanted me to get drafted, but I don't think it would have been like an FU to the agent type situation.
5 pick, and he doesn't get picked at all. So this is a failure by the agents to know exactly where the floor is. And I know it's not easy to do, but plenty of agents know how to do it. We knew what the Jalen Carter floor was. We knew. Drew Rosenhaus knew. Jalen Carter's not going to be in Kansas City if he's going to tumble out of the top 10 after he calls his shot. I'm not visiting anyone who doesn't have a top 10 pick. He knew where the floor was.
Yeah, but
Jackson
maybe
Smith and Jigba.
Yeah, but maybe it's just so different. Like, maybe it's not the agent. Maybe the team is telling Carter. Maybe Philly tells Carter, like, look, we are going to take you at 10. We are going to take you. Okay. Like, and teams can lie, of course, but I don't know. I just think it's interesting that they're not even flirting with the idea that the agent did do that.
We talked about this yesterday.
Right.
His floor was 22.
Yep.
His agent knew, and he went at 20, even though he's not a number 1 receiver.
Right. Even
though he's not going to draw double coverage and be a game breaker. They knew where the floor was. He wouldn't have been there.
Yeah. Yeah.
Somebody gave Will Levis bad information, and I wouldn't be surprised if there isn't a change made in agents, just like we saw Geno Smith do after he didn't get picked in round 1 10 years ago. Somebody didn't know the most important piece of information to be known.
Now, let me make myself clear. I'm not saying that 100% the failure did not happen. I'm saying that there is a chance that the failure did happen, but there's also a chance that it was a toss-up. Levis knew, the agent knew, like, here's a couple landing spots. There could be a trade. Like, there's a chance that conversation also happened. So just to say, like, it 100% was a failure, I think is a bit strong.
Where is Will Levis's floor? And we still don't know where it is.
No, we don't. It's tough, right? This does happen from time to time. I thought the TV coverage was just right? I don't think they went overboard in putting him on the screen too much. We got there in the early 20s, and we thought, hey, wait, there might still be a chance, so they were showing him on the screen a little bit. But I think after the Vikings at 23, that stopped, right? That's where he kind of, I don't think we saw him again after that. I thought that was the right move.
Somebody thought he left.
Right,
somebody,
which he didn't.
Somebody told me he left.
No, he didn't, because we
okay.
saw him late in the draft, and even when the draft was over, there was a few clips of him back in the green room, and he was on the phone with somebody, so he was there. But I thought the NFL did a good job of kind of pulling the plug there. It's an unfortunate situation. It's uncomfortable. And, yeah, you'd like the agent to know too, but I do know that it can work in a way sometimes where, hey, when the invitations go out and you're going, there's still teams that, hey.
That's another good point, Christopher. I would assume the invitations go out pretty early. So when the invitations went out, Levis might have been the guy in wherever. Like, they might have said, like, hey, look, it's a toss-up between Richardson and Levis at 4. Invite them. No doubt. So I get that part too, where, and you can't put this on the event. Like, you can't put this on them. And then in the process, Levis might have thought, I'm going. There's a lot going on here. I don't think it's fair. I think Florio's been a little harsh here.
It's Will or this guy. It's Will. So they might have got those answers from people. And as we talked about earlier, I think there's a lot of people that didn't know they were going to get picked by that team. It wasn't communicated all the way. So, I mean, you're right. There's a skill by the agents, but it's a tough one too. And sometimes the agent goes, hey, we're going to go even though we don't know, right? And I think we got a few spots where you're, one of their top 2 guys, they go make teams think who are on the fringe between one of those 2 guys, hey, wait, somebody likes him. That's why he's there. He knows he's going to get picked. And maybe that forces the hand of a team to do it. So there is that goes into it too, Mike.
But you got to communicate it clearly to the kids. So
But he might have, Michael. He may have done that. Levis may have known there's a chance you're going to be here. There's a chance you're going to be stuck. And he might have won anyways. Come on, Mike.
Done.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like, he looked stunned.
He did.
You can only hide so much of your facial expression.
Right. I actually thought Levis held it together pretty well. I mean, I compared to like Aaron Rodgers, Lamar Jackson, I think Levis looked okay. I mean, Lamar was like sleeping. Rodgers was pissed. So, I mean, I think all things considered, Levis looked kind of okay throughout it.
He looked stunned by what was happening. He walked into an uppercut by going to the draft and not getting drafted, and he's going to be pissed about it because somebody didn't get the message through to him the way they could have, the way they should have, that there's a very real chance you're going to be sitting there all night. I thought it was funny, too. I don't want to take any gratuitous shots here. It's not gratuitous. It's applicable. ESPN touting the fact that its analytics had Will Levis at less than 0.1% of a chance of not being drafted at all in round 1. I think that says something about your formula. Yeah. When the numbers, when the outcome defies.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be with Florio here. Like, I mean, it's a joke. If you listen. If you're still listening to Mel Kiper and Todd McShay as draft experts, when there are plenty of legitimate people out there on Twitter or the analytical websites we always tout here that are actually doing it, if you're still listening to Mel Kiper, I don't know what to tell you. If you're watching ESPN NFL Primetime for your game breakdowns, if you want to hear Booger McFarland and whoever else, Dan Orlovsky, break down the NFL in today's day and age when there's so many better spots to do it. I'm not even talking about my channel, which obviously my channel is, but VSiN is obviously, I tout them all the time. Sumer Sports, Football Outsiders, like those places. RJ Bell's Dream Preview. All of those are much better places to go than. You'd be better off for college football. You're better off, instead of watching Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso scream, just go to Twitter and search Paul Stone Sports and just ask Paul a question and just get his 140 character breakdown. And I guarantee you, Paul Stone's 140 character breakdown is way better than whatever the hell Kirk Herbstreit and Lee Corso are going to tell you in the course of 3 hours. So I'm with Florio there. The wool has been removed. Like I think everyone should understand that Mel Kiper is a character. It's like the most cartoonish version of a draft preview as possible. And if you want, look in the comments, if you want to know where I go for a lot of my information with breaking down the NFL or breaking down whatever we talk about here, a lot of the deeper dives that we always reference, let me know, and I'll happily give you some links to my favorite people and who I listen to on a daily basis or read on a daily basis. So I will do that for all of you. So thank you very much for watching. Chris Sims, please buy some t-shirts, buy something else. I can't keep watching the highly starched, no tie button ups. I mean, it makes me it makes me physically uncomfortable at how uncomfortable he must be. But thank you for watching. I will see you in the next video.